And then
Wow.
very shortly after that, him and I started playing together, and he had known Sam, and that's how I got involved with everything.
You know what's crazy? By 2026, I would have known Max for 20 years.
Wow.
That's insane. But I'm
Thanks so much for doing this. Basically, I want to know about the band, the origin story, and how you guys got into music. And of course, we'll talk about the new record as well.
Cool. Great.
Wait, so are you both from LA originally? Born and
Yeah, we
raised?
all are born and raised.
Wow, not
Actually,
many.
Max was actually born in Florida.
yeah, but
I
he
forget about that.
has no recollection.
He has no
Dude.
recollection. Okay. So you're both born. Did you grow up together?
Yeah, I mean,
Pretty much, yeah. Like we've known each other since we were like 14.
Well,
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
we played Little League together.
Yeah, but like we didn't know each other.
We didn't know each other, but I remember him.
Yeah.
You weren't on the same team? You just played
No,
against each
I
other?
remember him too. I just like we didn't really meet.
I was bigger
Okay.
when I was a kid, and he was as skinny as he is now.
Yeah.
So I
Okay.
just being the skinniest kid on the team.
Right on. Well, Dylan, how'd you get into music?
I mean, I feel like how most kids at a young age get into music was pretty much going through a after school music program, and I did that. And it was really relaxed. It was not even like a serious thing until I developed a real love for it. And that was like starting to do shows outside of that program, because the program would put on shows or whatever, and we'd perform through there. But then I started forming my own bands, and it all developed through there. And I think it just came very smoothly.
What age were you when you were in that after school program?
I was
Pretty
around
young.
like 6 or 7.
Oh,
Max,
wow.
that's why I met Max.
The drummer.
The
Oh,
drummer.
okay.
Yeah.
So you
And
guys
then,
met at this after school thing?
me and Max, Sam came at like right when I left, and then he met Max there.
Mm-hmm.
I met Sam. He was like dating somebody that I went to school with, and I was kind of in a friend group with. So it all kind of reconnected, and I reconnected with Max through that. And it was just yeah. And then Max went to high school with him for a year. And they were like the only people they each had really spoken to at that school. So,
Okay.
yeah, it just kind of all came together at once, and they formed a band. They needed a singer, and they asked me to join.
That's awesome. That is awesome. Well, what was the first instrument you learned at this after school thing?
Instrument?
Yeah.
So I started singing there, and then like by the second show, because they would do like each month was like a themed show, like we do Beatles or Rolling Stones or whatever. And
so you actually got to do cool songs.
Yeah,
It wasn't
yeah.
like just teaching you trash.
Yeah, do you know the School of Rock?
I do.
That's what it was. Yeah. So shows. Yeah. So my first show was the Stones, and I only sang because I kind of came in halfway. And I didn't know how to play guitar at the time because I was 6 years old. But no excuse, but
But still, I mean, that's rad to have you guys learn those songs even that young of an age, right? I mean, 6.
I actually don't know what made you want to start singing first instead of something else.
It was the easiest thing, because I mean,
I didn't know that.
I mean, in a sense, I mean, I sang all the time. I would always like sing at home, and then it was like it was a little more than just kind of like humming. Like I'd sing all the time. I'd done like at that point I'd done school talent shows and like stuff like
Were
that.
you doing musical theater at that point?
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Okay,
I did
that's what it
musical
was.
theater. I forgot about that when I was younger.
That makes sense.
I did like Little Shop of Horrors, The Sound of Music, and Bugsy.
So you were always interested in that.
Yeah, no,
and so, yeah, it sounds like it. Yeah.
And like my dad's a musician, and I've just always been around it, so it kind of fell into place. And then I think by the time like I progressed through the School of Rock, I started learning other instruments, and yeah.
But you said your dad's a musician. Is he like, is that what he did for a career?
No.
Oh, he just played.
Yeah.
He gave it a shot.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool though. I mean, he must be stoked that you're succeeding in this industry. I would imagine.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. Well, Charlie, how about you? How did you get into music?
it was like I don't know. How did I get into music? I mean, obviously, I'm an only child, so the only
Okay.
real uh doorway into music I had was just whatever my parents exposed me to,
Hmm.
and like I was super obsessed when I was a kid with the Harry Potter soundtrack. I remember my dad got me the soundtrack for my birthday one year,
Hmm.
and we would listen to that in the car all the time. But there wasn't any sort of like through line to it, if that makes
Okay.
sense. Like
Yeah,
I just like listening to that soundtrack all the time. And my dad was a big Massive Attack fan, so I liked that a lot.
that's rad.
Yeah, he was into all the trip hop stuff. And
Uh-huh.
my mom was super into like Earth, Wind and Fire and Sly and the Family Stone. So I listened to that a lot. And
Hmm.
but I mean, like we were talking about earlier, like I was just kind of like all my friends played baseball, so I played baseball, and then like I remember at one point I was sort of like, oh, I'll just do that. That's cool.
Hmm.
And um my mom had encouraged me to take guitar lessons when I was a kid, and I just didn't really like it. I liked the idea of me playing guitar because I thought that would make everybody think I was cooler, obviously, but I didn't really attach onto it. And it wasn't until I was 12 or 13 that I was going to hang out with a friend of mine, and he told me at the last second that he couldn't because he had band practice.
Oh,
And I was so gutted because I thought that was so cool, and I felt so just bad about myself. Because I think even at that point in my life, I think I wanted to be a cook. I wanted to be a chef. And then when he bailed on me for band practice, I just thought that was the coolest thing I'd ever heard. And later that day, after I was sulking, he called me again and he said that his singer didn't want to sing and play bass at the same time.
hmm.
And for some reason, I owned a bass. There was a bass in my
But you
house.
didn't play it.
I didn't play it, but my friend called me up. He's like, "Hey, you have a bass, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Can you play it?" And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely, I could play it." And then I went over to his house and became the bass player. And and then I had an identity, which was awesome.
And obviously you like the bass and continue to play it from there.
Yeah, no, it was cool. Like we played like Rage Against the Machine songs.
Damn,
Obviously,
that's a good one as a bass player to pick
yeah,
up
dude.
that
Well,
quickly.
Comerford became like my favorite bass player because I
Okay.
mean I didn't think twice about it until like you start learning some of those songs, and they're they're really fun to play.
Hmm.
And yeah, and then I almost immediately started taking that as seriously as I possibly could.
Okay. And
Um,
did you guys say that you both met at that School of Rock or no? You met
so
no,
I
you met
didn't.
Max
Yeah.
there.
So
Okay,
what ended
sorry.
up happening was I went to uh, this really awful high school for a year, and um,
Why was it awful? It was just like a
it
regular
was
school or was it art school?
it was an all boys Catholic school,
Oh, okay.
which is kind of mind boggling to me that those are still even around, especially in Southern California.
Yeah, it was borderline. It was like borderline a conversion camp.
Yeah,
You
no,
know, like
it was
Okay.
insane. It was absolutely the most tumultuous, ridiculous environment I'd ever been in up until that point. And
Uh-huh.
but weirdly enough, they also offered a music theory program.
Okay.
It was like the closest I could get to just sort of continuing to pursue it through academia.
Hmm.
And Max was in that class, and he was the only other kid that I'd met up until that point that I could remotely identify with. And
Oh,
then,
so you both went to the Catholic school.
yeah, Max ended up staying there for 4 years though.
Oh, okay.
He couldn't figure out what else he wanted, and he started getting busy musically
Yeah.
a lot quicker than we did.
you didn't have time
So
for
he was
transfer.
gone all the time, so it didn't really. He was fine with it, but yeah. So that was coming up on, that was like 9 years ago now when I met Max. And then
Wow.
very shortly after that, him and I started playing together, and he had known Sam, and that's how I got involved with everything.
You know what's crazy? By 2026, I would have known Max for 20 years.
Wow.
That's insane. but
It's not very far away either. If you really want to go. Wow. Well, were you playing in other bands then, Dylan, before you guys all linked
yeah.
up?
We had jammed a little bit before, like
Oh yeah, we had.
freshman year of high school or something like that, and then
I forgot about that.
yeah. This just I'd been in just a bunch of bands. Like we didn't like release music or anything like that, but it
Mhm.
was, I high school less I was in bands, more it was like middle school that I really was active playing shows. Middle school high school I kind of took a break until like junior year, and that's when I joined Liily. Like by
That's
then.
interesting that you were playing more shows in middle school because most kids in
Yeah.
middle school aren't playing out,
Well,
obviously.
yeah, I took my like academics like a little more, like I wanted to take my academics a little more seriously like during high school.
Mhm.
Obviously because this really where it matters.
Right.
I ended up not doing that.
He
So,
did give it a shot though. I remember he took like you were
yeah.
taking classes.
Well, because
and
I
stuff.
I knew I messed up kind of my, like I did really well freshman year, sophomore and junior year, I really messed up. And then I didn't like fail any classes, but I just wasn't not enough to like go to good colleges. So like
Sure.
senior year, I was like, all right, let's get every AP class I could ever imagine on my schedule. And then halfway through, I was like, I don't want to go to college. Like I didn't have any
Mhm.
desire, so I didn't apply. And then I just kind of, yeah.
Did the band form when you guys were still in high school, or was that
Yeah, like
after?
like
We
the end
got-
of junior year,
we got
I
really
joined.
lucky though,
Yeah.
because we were all Max, Dylan, and I were in the same grade, and Sam was a year younger than us.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And so we got offered a record deal like right before we graduated high school.
Yeah.
Oh,
We didn't
wow.
sign till like, I don't think we signed until like the end of 2017 though.
But it still was like it was enough for me because I was planning on going,
Yeah.
but it was enough for me to defer, and then I just never went back.
Yeah. Because
But
we were
wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, how did that all kind of come together? Were you just playing a bunch of shows in LA and
Yeah,
somebody?
we were playing as many shows as we could, and this and
We set up our own show at this venue in Hollywood, and someone I knew was telling me that they had a friend who was starting a label, and she was pretty young, so I took it as like like a school friend or somebody that was like not very experienced, so I was like, all right, just have them come over, it's like not that big of a deal. But ended up being this guy, Andrew Shack, who is pretty influential in the rap, I guess the rap community, like the
Mhm.
80s, 90s
yeah, he
rap world.
he like ran Priority Records for
Yeah.
a period of time.
And Capital.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And he was starting his own label where he really wanted to develop artists. And so he came to the show, wanted to see us. I guess he liked what he saw because he went to go see us at a proper venue.
Mhm.
Or if you can call the Smell a proper venue, but
It had a stage.
it was more proper than the one we had played before. And he liked us. He wanted to meet at his office, and we ended up signing. So, or negotiating
Yeah.
to sign. Yeah.
No, so
Mhm.
yeah, so we're just like we got lucky. You know what I'm saying? So
Well,
far.
I mean, you getting signed in, yeah, your senior year of high school, coming out of high school, you obviously defer, Charlie. You're not going to go to college. Like, this is something. And what do they do for you right away? I mean, how? Because sometimes some bands will get signed, and then it's just like, okay, now go figure out what you're going to do. Like, there must have been some sort of plan if you're like, I'm not going to go to college now.
They were eager to get us in the studio. It was just Charlie and Max were in different bands at the time, so it
Oh,
was just
okay.
kind of like find the space where everybody was comfortable and getting ready to record songs and whatever, because we had a bunch of songs that we had written throughout high school,
Mm-hmm.
and we're like, let's just record them.
I mean, because it was like there was, I forget about that too, because it was as exciting as it was like a highly stressful time too, because Max and I were kind of involved with bands that were kind of
They were touring, legitimately touring.
It was
yeah.
kind
Oh,
of like,
okay.
so there was this element of like, well, I like Max and I were kind of on cruise control, and there was a sense of security in what we were already doing.
Hmm.
Max more so than me, but I still had aspects of that in what I was doing. And we had talked, there was always this sense of like, oh, cool, like we'll just keep doing all these other bands and working. And then once like Liily gets to a place where we're at like the same level or bigger than these other bands, and we'll just kind of like glide right on over to being in Liily 100% of the time.
Hmm.
And it was, the stress came from realizing that that was not how it was going to work out.
Right.
Like there's no way we could devote the time needed to get Liily to a place where we could just casually jump ship on the other things if we
Hmm.
didn't do that first.
Totally.
So
Okay.
there was this like, oh shit, like I do really like Liily, but I don't know. And
Hmm.
Max had like a panic attack at one point, it got really, but we fucking, we did it because, this was our band, and none of the other bands were our bands. And we'd like, I remember I had a manager call me from one of the other bands that I was in, because I had just said like, look, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, I just want to do my band. And he had called me, and he was he was a fucking asshole. He had managed, he was also managing this band. I probably shouldn't say their name but he was managing this other band that had like a radio hit around that time. And he was the point of his call was trying to convince me to stay.
Right. He's like, I've got this other band that's doing radio
Well,
things.
yeah, and like, I'm like,
not going to leave this.
I'm like fucking 18 years old at the time, right? And he's like, I'll tell you a story, man. Like, so this fucking big band I'm working for, right? Like, their original bass player wanted to quit to just be in his band, right? Right.
Mhm.
And he ended up quitting to just do his band, and now he is lifeguard at a public pool.
Yeah.
And I was just like, fuck you for telling me that. Like, god damn, because that like it scared the shit out of me. Because obviously,
well, of course,
18 years old, yeah, you're gonna be like, oh fuck, great. Like, I'm making this decision now. I'm gonna be a fucking janitor.
That's also such a classist thing to say.
It was just fucked. The whole thing was fucked.
Yeah,
But
of course.
it ended up working out. Like, like it was not. It's great. It's all good now. Like we clearly made the right decision.
Right, but still, I mean, to scare you at that, because I would be terrifying, right? Yeah, you don't want to leave, because if this does something, but it's not even giving your band any sort of credit at all. Like that, he's basically saying these guys aren't going to be able to do anything, so you need to stay with us because
I mean, like,
of
yeah,
me.
I remember even at the same time, like the father of the singer of this other band I was in confronted me about it too, and fully was just like, yo, if you were in my band, I'd kick your fucking teeth in.
Jeez.
Oh, yeah, it was insane.
I mean, that ultimately at the end of the day, that's just like music. Everybody tries to lead by fear.
Right.
And so you live your life as a musician being fearful of everything,
Yeah, that's why we're terrified of confrontation.
Yeah.
Well, wow, to be threatened like that by somebody's dad, I'd be like, whoa, man, let's pump the brakes, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a child and you want to kick my teeth in because I'm
Yeah,
not
no,
your son's
it's
band anymore?
fucking
Like, you
insane.
need some.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts. Okay. Well, obviously you made the right decision. You stayed in the band, and they put you in the studio right away. And
I
are
mean,
you
pretty
recording
much,
record?
like,
Okay.
like when we were able to, it
Yeah.
was, they were eager to put us in the studio.
Yeah.
It wasn't, they can't take any of the blame
Yeah.
for that.
But was that what came out as far as like I Can Fool Anybody in This Town? Was that?
Yeah,
that
was that.
And
Yeah.
that's what
Oh,
we
wow.
try to emphasize. It was really just everything that we had from high school, from junior year till, I mean, even before that, because I wasn't even in the band when they wrote half the stuff instrumentally. So it was pretty much from sophomore year till that year after high school that we kind of, so like about like 3 or 4 years before we actually released anything.
Yeah.
because you put that record out in 2019. Is that what I saw?
Yeah,
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 yeah.
March.
So yeah, so that was a while, right? I mean, if you started the band in 2016 and then you said you graduated what 2017 or something like
Yeah,
that.
we graduated
Yeah,
2017.
we put it
So
out. Yeah,
in 2019, if you're going in the studio almost, if they're kind of pushing you towards the studio right away and you hadn't even graduated high school yet. So, I mean, it
Yeah.
sounds like it was, I mean, that's pretty. So they put that record out, obviously I'm looking just like Spotify numbers, obviously. And it's like, a couple songs have 4 or 5 million, 6 million plays. Like, was that something that gradually happened, or did you have a song that kind of got picked up quickly and got eyes on you, or like what did the label do?
Toro. I pretty much got us most of the stuff we did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just because it's a radio rock song. That's
Mhm.
kind of what I'm not saying it hit radio or anything, but that's sort of
The vibe.
vibe
Yeah.
of it. And people kind of liked it. So
Did they just find it online? Like, how did people find it?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, it kind of found it online. I mean, we got a lot of help on that one too, like we got a lot of playlists or whatever on that.
Mhm.
I remember Cat Corbett,
yeah.
K-Rock.
Oh, I know Cat Corbett.
Yeah,
That's
we
cool.
put it on for a little bit, like
On Locals Only or something.
yeah,
YouTube
for
video
sure.
did really well too. The music.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
there was a lot of that. It was purely just an alt rock song that kind of followed that, like the trope of an alt rock song. And so I think by
Like,
proxy,
yeah,
it did really well,
yeah.
Yeah,
It helped us get to where we are now,
Yeah.
for sure, for sure. Were you able to? I mean, Charlie, you said you had experience touring prior to this band, and
Yeah.
when was the first time that you guys had a chance to tour as Liily? And
It was November 2018.
Yeah.
okay,
We did like 5 shows with what the fuck are they called?
Oh my god, this is so bad. So much better. Yeah. They have that song, the do 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 do. What the fuck is that song? Oh my god. Or band. Broncho.
oh, okay, yeah, wow,
Yeah,
that's a cool band to tour with right away.
yeah, no,
right?
We were really excited about it.
We really like those guys. But yeah, that we did 5 shows kind of on the East Coast. And what was funny about that too is we because I had a few experiences with tour managers just
Mhm.
being really shady and awful, who you kind of just like, you show up to the tour, you meet the tour manager then and there, and you're
Mhm.
sort of thrust into this situation where within like 48 hours, you have to be able to understand if you can hang out with this guy or girl, And so I'd had so many experiences with these people just being fucking terrible. And so we meet this guy in like a Hampton Inn in Nashville.
We had no previous contact other
Meet this
than our
guy.
manager.
He looks like, I don't know. I mean, he's kind of this like long, greasy haired, kind of scruffy looking, just road dog, right? And
Sure.
And we go down. I'm like, "Hey, I'm Charlie." He's like, "Yo, what's up? I'm Justin. Nice to meet you." And I'm sort of like, "Oh fuck," right? And immediately though, he turns out to be like the chillest guy we have ever met, right?
Uh-huh.
And so we do a few shows with him, and him and I were hanging out one night, and we kind of bonded over our love of Twin Peaks, right?
Oh, the show.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. And then so we have a few days off in New York when we get to New York.
Yeah.
And I wake up one morning. It's like 10:30 in the morning, and I get a text from Justin. He's like, "Yo, what are you doing?" And I'm like, "Nothing." He's like, "I'm at this Chinese restaurant. Like, come hang out with me, right?" And so I get to this Chinese restaurant, and he is just like hat on, glasses on, in the back booth of this Chinese restaurant, just completely hungover, right? And he's like, "Hey, how's it going, man?" I'm like, "What's going on?" He's like, "Check this out." And he pulls up his sleeve, and he's got this giant Liily tattoo on his arm.
It's like the third day we've
Like,
gone
I've
on
known this guy
tour,
for
yeah.
3 days, and he's just like, "Yo, check this shit out," right? Wow, that's amazing. And he goes, "We're gonna go to my friend's house like come with me. I'm like, okay. And we walk probably 5 miles into downtown Manhattan, right?
Uh-huh.
We get to this super gnarly looking apartment building, right? I'm like, Justin, where the fuck are we? And he buzzes one of the apartments, and on the speaker, I just hear all these dogs barking, right? And this guy's like, well, who the fuck is it, right?
Oh man.
He's like, it's Justin. And he's like, who? And then he gives the guy on the speaker a nickname, right? And he's like, oh, okay, cool. And he lets us in, and we're getting closer to this door where all the dog sounds are coming from, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the door opens, and it's Dana Ashbrook from Twin Peaks.
Whoa, that's crazy.
It was, he didn't tell me at all. And he opens up the door. He was like, oh shit, what's up, Justin? And he was the nicest guy I'd ever met. It was so cool. So
That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, that's. I thought you were gonna say he's in the Chinese restaurant, and then like David Lynch is in there or something like that.
No, dude, it was like
that was even 100,000 times cooler of a story.
Yeah.
Not only does he have a tattoo, but you're
Like,
going to
he like
the
just
house.
forgot to mention that he was homies with Bobby Briggs.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
So that was the first tour that you guys had done,
That was
and
the
then
first tour we did.
that's crazy. And
Yeah.
how was that tour? I mean, that's a rad story from that touring experience. But what was it like for you, Dylan? Was that your first tour you had ever done?
Yeah, it was fun. I think it was just a nice experience to like, get out on the road, and it went swimmingly. I think there was, I didn't have any issues. Like I wasn't, I didn't run into any problems at all.
That was a good first experience.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like that kind of solidified the fact that you were like, this is a band, like we're really signed, like we're really doing
Totally.
something?
Totally.
Yeah.
And then everything followed. We started getting festivals and like actual full length support tours, and so it was it just everything kind of fell into our laps really quickly.
Yeah. That's amazing. Well, I mean, you had a big record, right, in 2019, and then how quickly after that does the pandemic hit? And I'm sure that was a big wrench and everything, because you probably had some momentum going at that point.
Yeah, 2019 was like a really big year for us.
Yeah.
I mean, it was sort of, we were doing stuff up until
We got
like,
to live it out. Like it wasn't
Okay.
like we had anything important really set up for the following year.
Yeah, like we like our whole cycle had kind of really come to its end after December 2019.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, dude, it definitely killed some momentum, but I mean, it killed momentum for fucking everybody.
For everybody.
In all honesty though, we were trying to record a record and they didn't really want us to stop touring, so we weren't able to do that ever. So when the pandemic hit, we actually could set aside time to write.
To work on this new record.
And I hate to say this because unfortunately people got really sick and passed away during the pandemic, but it was a blessing in disguise for us creatively and just as a band, business, whatever. Yeah.
So you were able to write and record this record over the course of the last year and a half or so?
Yeah.
We went into the studio, I think, in July of 2020.
Yeah.
Okay. And
then,
sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, and then it came out October last year.
Yeah. And I mean, were these? It must have been a different vibe though, because these are songs that weren't from sophomore year of high school all the way to now. I mean, to write all the songs kind of together and like that. Like, what was that like?
Well, I mean, it was like, I think this record was extremely important for us as a band because it just came from a very different place. There was this sort of hyper kinetic energy that you just have when you're 18 years old, where everything, it's almost like it's like everything sort of has like a gravitational pull to it, like especially with the momentum of like, okay, we're just out of high school, we have all these songs, we just got a record deal, like everything just sort of happens so quickly and that you don't have any time to figure out what you're doing or why you're doing it. You're just so stoked that it's happening.
Right. I mean, it's moving so quickly and you already had these other songs that were working and you have the record that you're pushing and
and this other thing too, because like, you know, we're just like a high school band in LA, right? Like your entire musical ecosystem is like the size of a cardboard box, you know. You're not really aware of what is happening culturally with music at all. I mean, you kind of are in your peripheries, but I mean, I don't think we really were. We were just kind of in our own little world. And it
Mhm.
wasn't until we started going out on tour and meeting other bands and seeing other bands and sort of getting inspired by other bands and other things that are happening around the world at the same time that we're writing our songs, that you start to think about why you're in a band and what kind of music you want to make and what kind of person you want to be and all that sort of shit. So
Mhm.
when we finally came around to like really writing this record, like we kind of approached it very much just like, okay, like we're going to do exactly what we want to do. And like, you know, and we ran into like a lot of troubles with just sort of trying to keep that sentiment of like, kind of like, fuck you, we're just doing what we want.
Mhm.
And I think by sticking to our guns and really trying to follow through with that idea, it brought, in my opinion, it kind of legitimized what we do a lot more. And not even speaking on like the record's behalf. Like I love the record and I think it's great, but I just think as like four people who make music together, I think the process of making this record really did legitimize what we do and how we feel about each other.
Mhm.
I don't know if that kind of answers your question.
No, it does. It does. It does for sure. And it sounds like if the pandemic almost had like some sort of effect on the record,
Yeah, I
knowing
mean,
that you had that much time to sit and
yeah,
be with it, right?
yeah, I think it did in like, and I think it did in a really a very real world sense, you know, like I
Mhm.
don't think, because that's the other thing I realized about this band, like I don't think we internalize stuff like I think we do it in a very passive way, if that makes sense. Like
Mhm.
it's sort of like, okay, yeah, it obviously sucks that we can't tour right now, and the state of the world right now just kind of sucks, but like that doesn't become the catalyst for us to like to funnel that shit into the art, you know, like it's not about, the music isn't a representation of, you know, where, sorry, let me figure out what I'm trying to say here.
No worries.
The music is that, what I mean when I say passively, it's like the music is not actively a representation of like what's going on in our own lives and like sort of like funneling these, you know, tribulations and fears and worries about what's happening right now. It all happens very subconsciously.
It's a lot
you know?
less serious.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, a lot of people they have this weird sense of angst, which is fine. They can do that, but it's like then you find people they start writing songs about the pandemic, and you're like, all right, fuck you, you know.
Yeah,
Right.
that's exactly
Yeah.
what I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
It's to a certain point too, where it's like, you know, you can do that, but then you're starting to take yourself too seriously, and then it's just like
It just becomes a bad
yeah,
idea.
just write your own shit. Just if you calm down, then you're gonna probably write the best shit that you'll ever write at the end of the
Mhm.
day. Or you don't. I don't know. Fuck.
Yeah, maybe you just not that good.
Sorry, should I not be cussing? I
No,
don't.
you could cuss, man. I don't care.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I came from 15 years on the radio where nobody could say anything bad, and if it happened, it was like,
I was about
"Ah."
to say you have a really good radio voice.
Yeah,
Oh, I
yeah.
appreciate that. Thank you.
You
I
have
did
a
radio in
good
San
radio.
Diego at 91X. I don't know if
Oh,
that's how I
cool.
know who Cat Corbett is, and I did radio in San Francisco for a while.
Great.
But yeah, but I
Right.
like this because I can just chat with people, and if somebody cusses, then they can do whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love it. So that's
A
so
little-
cool. Like, I mean, the record's awesome, and I saw you guys were playing Bottle Rock, which is so sick, and the
Yeah, we're
lineup
excited.
there is huge.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Are you guys are you writing new music now? Is it something that
Yeah,
is constant?
yeah, we're working on the next thing right now. Yeah,
So cool.
we're trying to get out as fast as possible.
Well, you still have the record. That record didn't come out that long ago. I mean, in
Oh,
October,
no,
right?
but,
So
dude, I don't like the shelf life of records these days is just like criminally short. I don't know.
And I feel like we have something. I feel like with this record, we're like almost there. And this new thing that we're working on, I just
That's better.
I want to get it out. You know what I mean? It's
Okay,
like
yeah.
it's more I don't want to say self-aware, but more self-realized in a sense. And it's just going to be more of a like continuous song to song record versus like the last one, it was all kind of all over the place, which is cool. But that was just kind of the case of spanning it over an entire, 2-year pandemic.
Sure.
Yeah.
So
this record, it's not a concept, but it flows a bit
it
nicer
flows
as
a
far as
lot
that goes.
better. Yeah, a lot of it flows a lot better from what we have right now.
I think this process has been a lot more fun.
Yeah.
Too, because the last record, I think there was like which I think was great about it, but there was like a huge sense of eagerness and frustration, which I think was like a couple of big motivators for that last record, because there was almost this like we just wanted to do everything, and there was kind of, I think we were frustrated with ourselves that we didn't want to get pigeonholed into being this one type of band, and there was an eagerness to do it as fast as possible. And this time around, it's just been a lot more relaxed. And I don't think we feel like we need to prove ourselves to anybody at this point.
That was going to be my next question. Do you feel like you kind of had that on your shoulders with this latest record, TV Not TV?
For me, definitely.
I think you have to follow up this big song and everything else. You had some eyes on you and all that.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, dude, and I think, at least speaking on my behalf, but I feel like I could speak on behalf of the whole band. Like, part of my attitude was kind of like, yeah, well, fuck that big song.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna like fuck trying to write like a bigger song. Like, I don't want to do that. There was part of me that just wanted the antithesis of that.
Just wanted like a good song
versus
a big song. And the good song could have went big, but at the end of the day, it's like that shouldn't be the motivation. Trying to write a big song. And I think the difference between the first two things versus what we're writing now is the EP and both the first record were written out of fear, but two separate fears. The first EP was like, we need to get music out. Like, it's like, we have to do this. Like, we need to do something that's safe, The first full length record was like, all right, how can we get the farthest away from the EP and really legitimize ourselves as like a real band, and this thing that we're writing right now, it's so relaxed, and it's just like, let's just make a good record. And there might be some fears in that, but it's not the overarching theme, It's really just, let's create a good record without any sort of, talk of, bullshit. So
yeah, well, I can't wait to hear it. Like I said, I like the record you just released, and obviously the EP are amazing albums. But are you guys going to wait and put this thing together as an EP, or like, obviously the game now, like you said, shelf life is so short. Is it something that you're going to put out a song and a song and a song and a song, and then finally, it'll come out as a full piece?
I think that's kind of where we're at with
whatever we have, we're just gonna, if it's an EP, if it's an album, great,
Cool. Well, I can't wait to hear it. That's awesome. And I appreciate you both so much for doing this. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having us on.
Yeah. I have one more quick question, if I can get an answer from both of you, if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
I have any advice for aspiring artists? My advice would just be to not worry.
Yeah,
I like it.
It's just, it doesn't add anything to your life positively by worrying. If you want to do it, just give it a shot. And if it works out, that's fantastic. And if it doesn't, that's okay too.
Yeah, no, you just like I said before, like don't take it so serious. Like really just, do what feels right. Obviously, if you want to make a career out of this, then you have to like be consistent in writing, but that will come naturally if you really care about it. So I think just take it
Yeah.
as less as not like a super serious thing if in the creative sense.
Yeah.
Bringing it backward.